Good morning, school. My name is Mr McIntyre. I'm the Head of Business Education, and the theme of my assembly today is the influencer. So we may start with a dictionary definition: a person or thing that influences another. He was a champion of the arts and a huge influencer of taste. We may move on to marketing and influencer: a person with the ability to influence potential buyers of a product or service by promoting or recommending the items on social media. Influencers can add serious credibility to your brand. And I think this carries on the theme from my colleagues. They talked about influences in their life, be it the music, be it a favourite book, be it a civil rights campaigner, be it the really moving aspect of war poetry. You might type influencer into a search engine and often a picture similar to this crops up all the time, and it impossibly achievable looks because of the use of heavy filters, perhaps even surgical procedures. These are two characters from Towie, and their job, their role in life is to influence people on social media. This slide could give us a great reflection on the reality of an influencer and what they look at after heavy filters. There they are on the left, two quite famous Chinese influencers, and there they are on the right. Do they look taller? Has the face shape changed? Has the hair got better? Certainly, do they look a different dress size? One of the girls appears again on the left, her natural photo, and on the right after heavy filtering, published on her influential Instagram account. She often talks about the pressures of almost unachievable, attractive good looks. She's even changed the colour and tint of her hair. So what we're trying to get to here is we have to be careful about what influences we have in our life. There's another influencer, 19-year-old Michaela Souza, otherwise known as Little Michaela. She has 2.8 million followers on Instagram. She gets paid £6,500 per post, influencing people to buy things. She's just been voted in, not on Instagram, mind you, but the top 25 influencers on the internet. So here she is. She's advertising Nike. Paid a lot of money for that. And there she is advertising the French fashion brand Chanel. And one can only think how expensive the shoes, the dress and the bag are. What people don't realise, half of the followers don't realise, she is computer generated. She's generated out of a computer based in Los Angeles. She'll always be 19. She'll always be the same size. Maybe she'll always have the same hair colour. Who knows? It's very easy to change when it's computer generated. But the influence comes from a computer program. She does not exist. Another computer-generated influencer, this time none other than Peppa Pig, and who could deny the joys of jumping up and down in a muddy puddle. It goes out to 180 different countries. It's made its creators fabulously wealthy, but there is the influence of Peppa Pig many you don't realise. On the top right-hand side you can see Peppa going out with her family in the car, all wearing seatbelts. That had to be remade because Peppa originally went out and none of them wore seatbelts. There was concerns over safety in cars. Here we have Peppa in the bottom right with her friend, a new friend, none other than Mr Skinny Legs. In Australia, this got stopped. Peppa Pig got stopped in Australia, this particular episode, because she was befriending a spider. In Australia they have real problems with black widow spiders, and they didn't want to encourage children to befriend them. Such was the influence of Peppa. And here we have again, we managed to find Peppa without a helmet on when she was cycling. Again, road safety, people were so concerned about the influence of Peppa Pig, they insist that her and her friends wear helmets. And here we can see her and her friends, the bottom left hand corner, having a great day out, albeit on an incredibly steep hill. A different montage of photos here. It's often said your favourite World Cup was the first one you can remember. It's the first one I can remember is the black and white photo. A fellow called Archie Gemmell possibly scoring the best goal of the tournament. 4 years later on, here we have Brazil versus Italy. And still fondly remembered as one of the greatest games ever. You may well take the opportunity to look it up on YouTube. And this influence also taught me the good and bad side of sport as well, not only the great goals but also the bitter disappointment. And there's no greater bitter disappointment than the picture of Alan Rough there. Of course, an international goalkeeper, very skilled keeper. All I can remember him do is pick the ball out the back of the net, and further disappointments to come because we refer back to the 1978 World Cup, and there we have Scotland's results. Beaten 3-1 by Peru, a draw with the minnows of Iran, and then possibly beating the second best team in the world at that time, the Netherlands, 3-2 in quite a stunning game. A real mixture of emotions there. I couldn't possibly do an assembly of influences without the influence of my favourite player, a man called John Jeffrey. A journalist turned up late to Murrayfield once. He didn't bother looking at the score, he didn't bother asking about the score. He simply asked, how is John Jeffrey playing? And if John Jeffrey is playing well, he had the influence to win a game on his own, win a game for his nation on his own. And I have to say, my greatest ever rugby player. So much so that on the next slide I actually named my cats after him. And for those of you wondering, that's John Jeffrey on the right. I'm hoping you all recognise Peppa Pig, and I'm hoping you all recognise the next slide, Marcus Rashford, the 21-year-old striker for Manchester United. Perhaps more famous for, during the pandemic, the first lockdown, raising 30 million for free school meals. Here we see him working at a food bank, and the reason I've included him in here is his influence on the government to provide free school meals from now and certainly beyond Easter, because he experienced the benefit that free school meals gave him. He was no longer went to school hungry, he didn't go to training hungry, because he was provided with free school meals. A great modern day influencer. There is a claim, maybe you shouldn't meet your influencer, will you be disappointed? This is a man, Finn Russell, he plays out in France now. He'd just played and lost a game, and after the game he spent an hour and a half taking pictures, selfies with young fans, signing autographs, signing shirts. He recognised the effect that him, a world famous rugby player, could have on the people who came and paid to watch him play. Some other people might make their influences. You might recognise this young man who was playing at a rugby tournament, and a great influencer turned up to see him play. Same man appears in a different picture a few years later, perhaps one of my most favourite pictures, because we talk about influencers. It could be coaches, teachers, it could be artists, authors, filmmakers, it could be people in TV. And here we have me with possibly one of the greatest influences, and it perhaps asks the question, are our greatest influences closer to home than you think? I've been lucky enough to have this man influence my life for the past 47 years, because the man, the influencer, also happens to be my dad. Thank you, school. Have a great weekend.